Hey Agnes, good evening and congratulations to you on your graduation. How does it feel to be here?
Thank you, Srividya. I think for me it is a little surreal because part of it is I sought out different goals when I started this program, but during the journey, I realized there were other things I needed to focus on really, and which was more important to me. So I think just getting a better sense of the right goals for my health and transforming my mindset, it's been a phenomenal journey.
Wow, awesome to hear, Agnes. And actually, I was preparing for our call yesterday and kind of recounting our journey, and it's mind-boggling to see from where to where you've come today, right? It's like kind of like a 360-degree turn in terms of mindset shift, goals, right? From where you started to what you really wanted, and also how much you've been able to accomplish in this 1 year together. So makes me feel very very proud about your journey and amazing commitment, perseverance, and persistence, Agnes.
Yeah, I think it's thanks to you. I mean, I usually see it's your voice that rings in your head, right? Everything is a continuum, or you just need to show up. I think just those mantras that you have, that's kind of helped me stay the course, because during the last year there were multiple points where a lot of changes happened, so it was hard to stick to the plan, so to speak. But I think what you shared in terms of just showing up, doing even the smallest amount, right? So that really helped me stay and not give up halfway through.
Mm. Wow, so that's huge, Agnes. Thank you for sharing that feedback. That kind of these small, simple steps and understanding that life does get in the way. And think about this. I mean, we worked together for a year. How can you
Mhm.
expect every single day to have been perfect, right? There are so many challenges. I remember so many roadblocks, professional roadblocks, personal roadblocks. Your brother getting married and you having to stay here.
Mhm.
Health issues, you had to go through surgeries, so many things, your husband's health as well, your daughter having to adjust between online and then offline school. So things had to start changing, and I'm so happy by that time we had got done with meal planning and meal prepping, so it was so much easier for you. So many of these skills and practices that you kept up with and never gave up even once. You showed up with the bare minimum that was possible for you. So hats off to you, Agnes. uh, we're just going to go into a few questions to basically recount the entire journey together, right? So, first, I would like to start off with what was going on for you before you worked with me?
So I think it was almost a year into the pandemic, and there was definitely the burnout. There was the COVID 20 pounds that I had added, and just the general mindset that was there, right? That you're not in control of what's happening. And that was reflecting in the choices I was making related to my health, whether it was food or exercise, or even the thoughts that I was having in my head, right? Was almost like a victim mode, and not feeling in control of what's happening around you. So it was a little, I wouldn't say a dark place, but it was a really not a very positive place to be. And I think that was the time when I said, it was around my birthday. And I said, okay, I cannot go getting closer to the big birthday coming up, but I wanted to have a change in mind and do a reset. So I think that's the time when I reached out to you.
Hmm. So, there were a lot of challenges in terms of weight gain as well as the feeling of losing control around your environment, and that kind of prompted you to take a proactive step. I mean, that's definitely a big thing, right? I mean, getting the awareness that you need to change and then actually jumping into action mode,
Mhm.
right? So, fantastic work on that. So, can you tell me any other challenges that you are facing in terms of stress, or how did that look?
So definitely stress was there. Just like so many things had changed in that year, right? We had to suddenly be at home, not have all of the resources that I would usually had in terms of having access to a gym and to work out, or having my daughter in school and not having to think about being a parent and a teacher and doing everything full time all the time, and not having an outlet for for me, my outlet was, going out, meeting friends, having, proper conversations, because connecting with people was important to me. So not having, there was a lot of stress that was building up. I was a person, and I think we talked about it, right? I had to hit my gym at 5:30 in the morning, and my gym was closed for 8 months. And so that change in routine also put me feeling like I didn't have a really stress release mechanism, or just some avenue to have that me time for myself. So I think there was definitely all of that put together. And I think just the stress and of the pandemic and all the work that extra work that it created at home was definitely wreaking havoc on whether it was my asthma or my, acid reflux, and all of that was also kind of acting up.
So physical health wise as well, right? I remember you had a lot of bloating, acidity, asthma, allergies, right? Which was kind of preventing you from going out and actually getting something done. Added to that, you had your own professional commitments, your daughter's school, like you rightly said, parenting, right? It became more of a priority when she's around all the time, cooking meals. And you're someone who likes to cook home cooked meals, but there were more situations where you had to order out. That is where we started, right? And that was making you feel very uncomfortable with the kind of choices that you were making, and the stress, that was adding on. So definitely physically as well as mentally, emotionally, you are in a very difficult space. And added to that, the social health as well, right? Not being able to go out, socialize. You're someone who likes to go out a lot, right? So that was kind of impacted as well, right, Agnes?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So can you tell me, when you started, what did you originally want to see as progress?
So I think at that point for me, it was the immediate goal was, the fact that I had gained weight, and wanting to lose that weight was kind of the first thing that I was looking at. Definitely the number on the scale was something that mattered to me, and maybe fitting into my clothes, that was second in line. But I think back of my mind, I also knew that I wanted to do something for the longer term. I had done, like diets, or tried out different kinds of, I wouldn't say fad diets, but, just do short-term diets, or work out extra hard for a few months. I had tried that, but I think what connected me to you was the first conversation that we had, where you said, okay, we're not going to think about weight loss. We're going to think about something holistic. And I think back in my mind, I knew I wanted it, but when you said that, it kind of clicked with me, and I said, okay, this made sense for me.
So thanks again for being very, very open that you started off with a different goal, and, also sharing that somewhere along the line, things started to change because you were looking for something. I mean, coming from the space that you were in, right, where you had tried out different things, and they were all short-term things giving you quick results, but that never stayed, right? So that kind of was basically your trigger to understand that, hey, you know what? I don't want to again and again keep falling into that dieting trap. I need something that is sustainable. And when I told you that it's all about habit formation and skills, it kind of clicked in you and said, hey, maybe you know what? This is what I need for myself.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So can you tell me what exactly is something that you're looking right now at progress? Like, how do you look at progress today?
I think for me, it's 3 or 4 things, right? So first thing, that I feel good in my body. So, the things that we talked about, I know that I'm not reaching out for my asthma medication or my acid reflux medication. So having that under control, I think that is a very good indicator. The quality of sleep that I have, that I wake up and I feel energized. That's enough. So how do I feel? So I think that I will put it as one in big group. That's an indicator of progress. I also think the other big thing for me was the mindset. There was a lot of negative talk that was going on. I'm a person, I think I did pretty well. When it came to weight loss, I never felt like I could do it, or I knew how to approach that problem, right? Like I take this example, when I work at it, I say, okay, let's define the problem. Let's figure out small steps to solve it. But I think I'm able to take that and apply it to the health aspect as well, and how I look at weight loss or how I look at health holistically, and not have my mental talk saying, "Oh, that's not progress enough," or you've missed it for 2 days, so you're not going to be able to get back. So the big progress I see there is that mindset or the self-talk that I would say, that's another area. The third one is really understanding that small changes make a difference. I've always been like go big or go home kind of person in my life. And well, that has its, it's useful certain times in your life. That's not going to work out for the long term. So I think just that change also to say, okay, incremental changes, however small. I remember early on when we started, I was like, you're giving me 4,000 steps to do in a day. That's not good enough. But then I saw over month, it went from 4,000. We gradually increased it to 5,000 steps and 6,000. And towards the end of November and all, I was getting 7,000 steps on most days. So, and when I started the year, I looked at my phone, it used to be like 1,800 steps. So I think going from 1,800 to almost 7,000 steps a day within a span of a year, that's a significant change. So the power of small increments, I think those three things I would say are the biggest progress that I see.
Wow, amazing, amazing learnings there, Agnes. Thank you so much for sharing. So, what constitutes progress today for you is the way you feel. That's how you actually understand how it is in terms of holistically, right? Not just in terms of energy levels, but in terms of how well everything is going around you and how well you have a control over everything, right? So that's one thing. Again, we'll come back to it because I think your structure, system, and scheduling played a huge role here, right? In making sure everything went well around you. And also it gave you a lot of control. So the second thing is, of course, the mindset shifts, the all or nothing thinking, negative self-talk. Yeah, I mean, that was big, right? Do go 100% or go home, right? So that was kind of playing out all the time. And the amazing way in which your self-awareness and mindfulness was one of your strengths, Agnes, right from the first day. That is something that I spotted in you, where you were very, very mindful about what was going on. So it was so much easier for me to coach you. Thank you for that. The third thing, of course, is understanding that small things actually add up over time. The reasons certain times it doesn't happen is because we give up too soon, expecting huge changes to happen, right? But then when you actually stick with it and keep it extremely simple and doable, it adds up like compound interest, right? So month over month, you're actually creating a lot of momentum towards where you want to be. So these are amazing insights that you've shared. I do want to dig in a little bit and understand what was a big aha moment for you while you were working on your transformation?
I don't know if it was just one. There were quite a few. One was definitely even though gratitude was something I talked about, practically sitting down and doing that gratitude journal, it seemed like a very small thing. It brought about a big change in the mindset, I think, and that was kind of very important for us to start off with, right? Because like I said, it was a year in the pandemic. I felt like everything was going wrong. And so just focusing on that gratitude helped really change the conversation in my head for me. So I think definitely starting off with that practice was really helpful. The second thing was, it might seem trivial, but or sometimes I even laugh at it, right? Like learning to chew once again your food. I think it's almost like a basic thing, but I felt I had almost forgotten that, we had to chew our food when you eat it, not just gulp it down. So I think I would say it's an aha moment. It was a wake up call, so to speak, on how fast I was eating. That timer, that definitely sticks in my mind. The third thing was also the mind body scan. And I say the mind body scan because it helped me get better cues at how I was. Like, I know if I feel a certain thing in my shoulder, it's because I've been sitting too long. Or towards the later part, I also realized, right, like when I don't feel like my digestion is good, it's not just what I'm eating or, the exercise. It's also certain emotions. Like the days when I feel a lot of shame and guilt, I definitely know it impacts my digestion. If I feel it over 2 or 3 days, I can see that impact. So doing that mind body scan also gave me one more set of tools to kind of listen to my body and learn from it. So I would say those three. But I think the bigger things was also when we talked about meal planning and prepping, there was a phase when I was like, okay, I don't know what to cook. I want to eat vegetables, but other than salads, there aren't many. But I think just having those conversations helped me open up okay, this is not limited. There are hundreds of other ways to cook vegetables, right? So I wouldn't say it an aha moment, but it was almost like okay, this is a reminder. These 5 things that you do are not the only ways to cook vegetables. I think that also stands out to me.
Amazing insights again. And I'm always awe-inspired by how much you're in tune with yourself, Agnes. Every single conversation, I absolutely, when I look back, I remember all of those details. It's like it happened yesterday. Every single breakthrough that you've had, especially the snacking, right? When you were traveling, you noticed it's out of boredom that you were reaching out to so many things. That was a huge trigger and a breakthrough that we had in your journey.
Yes.
Second thing was when you're extremely stressed, you noticed especially after a very, very stressful work call, you would go to the kitchen counter and automatically grab something to eat, right? So that was another breakthrough we had. And the gratitude journal, absolutely. The first 5-minute action that kind of grounded you to realize that, hey, there is actually some things that are going really well in my day and I should be thankful for those, even in these really chaotic situations. So again, you stuck on with it, right? It may be a very, very simple thing, but you actually saw the value that come out of it that motivated you to stay on with it. And I think even till today, you continue to do it, right, Agnes?
Oh, yes. On, I would say 85 to 90% of the days I do it.
Fantastic. And learning to chew, again, connecting back with your body, right? And being very mindful when you're eating. I think that also increased the experience of eating for you. Connecting with your family members, savoring the taste, really appreciating. So I remember I never realized that this food item actually tastes this good. It was your first insight. Right from chewing really slowly and eating mindfully, you said, oh, wow, I actually really like this food and the way it's been prepared. So a lot more appreciation for what's on the table as well. And it also gave you a lot of insight into feeling full, your fullness cues as well. And again, with that, I think the bloating kind of reduced a lot too. And the snacking, right? The cravings and the snackings reduced a whole lot.
Oh, yes. I think thank you for reminding me about the boredom. I do realize that, and I can catch myself even now. But I really, I think the pause also, just give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
The pause was the other thing, right? That was super helpful. So even now I catch myself to say, okay, let's pause and notice the emotions and name it and go from there. But allowing yourself time to react or really respond and not react immediately. I think that was another big learning for me.
Yeah, so the notice and name also came in handy with your food as well as the professional situations also. We'll dig in a little bit more into that. And the mind body scan, where you were able to kind of figure out where am I holding stress, right? What is going on? Why do I feel this in this part of the body? What's going on really, right? So you were able to connect it to either any kind of stress that you are feeling or just from the posture, right? You are sitting for too long or something like that. And of course, the meal planning and the prepping and the vegetables. I mean, your meals are amazingly drool worthy, Agnes. I totally miss those right now. Literally the colorful meals that you used to put together. And basically, every time I saw that meal, I could see the thought that went into it, the planning that went into it, and the preparation that you had to do for that. So let's talk about that, Agnes.
Yeah, and I think now that I look back, I mean, I keep telling, again, I'll go back to the work example, right? I am someone who had always, I always tell my people also, right? Like, hey, you cannot, hope is not a good strategy for life or for work. So I have been someone who's always done that at work. But somehow it didn't I hadn't applied it as well to the home front. So I think like we did this exercise first, right? Like what are your strengths, like the initial inventory kind of thing that we put in. And we talked about what we already have and how you apply it to the, that gave me a lot of confidence to say, okay, I know how to do planning. I know how I do it in my work. I know how I do it for the other aspects of my life. Applying to the meals, it's the skill that I have. I just have to apply it here. So I think first thing, I have to thank you for helping me connect that between what I do otherwise with the meal planning aspect. But I think, again, having hope for it or hope I plan for it is not going to work, but really nailing it down. And we sat down and we said, right, what are we going to trigger it to? You're going to sit at your, I still remember the conversation we had after you clean out your kitchen table, you're going to make yourself some tea and then start writing out your meal. I think kind of anchoring it to some other behavior definitely helped initially to get started. And over time, we could refine. That's the great thing about a plan, right? We had a plan. We'll try to execute it over the 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, we use it as learning to tweak it for the next 2 weeks, rather than saying, oh, we had a plan, why did we not stick to it? What can we learn and how can we tweak it for the future? That was really helpful. Um, for me, with meal planning, one thing that really helped was also knowing that sometimes planning to have a store-bought meal is okay if it's going to make me feel less guilty about everything else. Pre-packaged food, like, pre-cut vegetables or having canned legumes and pulses, that's all okay because everything does not have to be made from scratch. I think that changed how the way I meal plan, because I know I was initially saying, okay, my Sunday is gone, chopping veggies 3 hours and prepping everything. That's the only day I have to rest. But simplifying that too definitely helped me stick the course.
Wow. So yeah, when you talk about yeah, I mean, we have a plan, right? We execute it, and then setbacks happen, right? It's quite natural. Not every day is going to be perfect. And when you do have a setback, how do you actually look at it? That actually makes a world of difference, right? Whether you're going to sulk and go down the negative spiral of those thoughts, or are you actually going to look at it as feedback and actually keep moving forward? So fantastic growth mindset at play there, Agnes. And the other thing I remember, I think it's your Thursdays that are really tough. Wednesdays or Thursdays, right? And
Yes.
literally, you would pull your hair and say, "Oh my God, everything is falling apart," right? So a little bit of planning over the weekend, Sundays usually that's what we pick. So Sundays you would actually plan for Wednesday or Thursday and actually have it as a planned indulgence kind of a day, right? Where you actually get to order out and also figure out what are healthier options given that situation. And that kind of released a whole lot of tension, right? And also gave you an opportunity to try out other things and just kind of have a chill kind of a day, focus on things that matter to you on those days rather than pulling yourself out thin in all other directions. And the other thing was, understanding that it's okay to have pre-cut stuff, right? From the store, canned legumes. I absolutely remember the chickpeas and all those to kind of buy it and store it and throw it into your meals when you feel you're low on protein or something like that. And the other thing was marinating meat, right? Weekly marinating your meat and making sure they are ready to be grilled. Brilliant work. Thank you so much for sharing that, Agnes. Now, okay, so I want to ask you, how has your transformation impacted your professional as well as your personal space?
Definitely in terms of my personal life and just the health indicators, like I think we shared, I don't see myself getting as many asthma spells, or knock on wood, even this winter, I've been doing really, really well considering everything that happens. Same thing with my acid reflux and all of that, right? So that definitely puts me in a good place. Like I'm feeling my best. I'm not feeling down because of, health issues. That's there. And I think sticking to that bedtime routine has also helped me feel more in control. There are 1 or 2 days when I feel a little lower energy, but majority of the time, I know when I wake up in the morning, I know I have the energy to do everything that I have to do, that to be present to my family, to be able to achieve the goals that I set out at work, and also have time for myself. So I think it definitely helps there. I think the notice and name and pausing, I think those are two things which have helped me immensely, both at work and also in my personal life, like in my relationships with family, with my husband, with my daughter. And notice and name and pause really helped at work, because a lot of times I can sit back and say, okay, this is the emotion that I'm feeling right now. And I'll give you an example where I could really tell, there was a team, I moved into a new team and I was managing a lot of men, and there was one
I
person
remember that.
who declined, yeah, like who declined the meeting, and immediately it's like, okay, threw off triggered a lot of different emotions in me, and I had to pause and say, okay, has this person ever given me a reason to think that they don't respect me as their manager? So why is it the story I'm telling myself? And how that's helped me is really be more confident and connect with people better at my workplace. Also speak my mind, because sometimes I'm not thinking about what would this person say or that person say. I'd really be more confident in how I share my viewpoint. It's definitely helped there. It's also helped me navigate some really tricky situations. I mean, I was doing mergers and acquisitions for a while during our time, right? And there's a lot of emotions, high emotions, anger and frustration. And for me to be able to recognize when it triggers my own emotion helped me navigate those situations a lot better. So it definitely helped me that way at work. But just the fact that I was having a lot more energy also helped me at work.
Absolutely. So personally, yes, definitely the relationship with people around you changed a whole lot when you also started functioning better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things fall apart when you're helpless and you're having a lot of health issues looming, and you're just not able to handle it. It's only a certain point you can handle stress, right? I mean, everybody's stress tolerance is different, and when it actually starts tipping over, you just cannot handle anymore. So when your physical health space actually started doing better in terms of lowered acid reflux, no more asthma issues, no bloating, right? And you're also, the fitness also started to improve, right, Agnes? You started working out a little bit more regularly. The walking helped a lot, where you were not sitting for a long time. The aches and pains were less. So when you started functioning better, you could see your relationship. You were able to pay a little bit more attention to what the other people were saying from their perspective, right, rather than coming from your biases.
Yeah.
The other situation that you talked about, professional situation where somebody, I mean, first of all, hats off, literally womaning a man's world, right? I mean, like, you are the lone woman handling so many men, and who are also your peers, and then you became their boss, right? And that itself was a difficult situation for you to, your own limiting beliefs coming at play there, and where you had to notice and rise above those. And in this particular situation where your colleague kind of called off the meeting last minute, and you thought that, oh my god, is he not respecting me? But then you paused, and when he came back with the reason that, hey, you know what, I actually had something to do with his family, right? He had to take care of some priorities. And then you realized, okay, and then you could empathize with him. Okay, you know what, it's not really what I thought, but something really was going on. These are amazing breakthroughs, Agnes. Really, hats off. Actually, applying those skills, right? We may share so many skills, but the level of commitment or how much you implement it is what brings that success and progress. So, thank you so much for sharing these openly.
Yeah, and I think one more thing I wanted to call out, I know more on the personal front, right? For movement, I think we started saying, okay, I'm going to go out with my family for a walk. That also became the time where all of us are away from devices. We don't have other distractions, and we are talking to each other. So we're getting our movement too, but at the same time, it was also an opportunity to connect. Same thing, the meals together, right? Where you're slowing down. like we were having conversations, we were forcing ourselves to talk to each other and not gulp down that meal. But those two practices specifically to help build that connection in the personal front.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, to you, the bonding with the family was very important, and this walk and even the hikes and everything you did so much, Agnes. Talk about how well your endurance improved.
Oh yeah, so I think during the last year when we started off the movement, so we did daily walks, but I wanted to do something more over the weekend. So what started off as every weekend we did a 2 mile or 3 mile hike in some of the trails nearby. By over the summer, we were able to do a lot more. We did a 10-mile hike one of the days, and we did like it was not a hard terrain, I would say, but it was medium terrain. There was elevation changes, and we were able to do it within 5-6 hours. That was a huge win. I don't think any of us would have done something like that before, not just me. We were also able to do like this really nice bike ride, which was around 25 kilometers bike ride, the three of us, and we enjoyed ourselves. So I think over time, just slowly building into that practice, doing a mile here or 2 miles there, we were able to build up and do a lot more. Both family time, but I think also from an endurance and a fitness perspective, that really helped.
Wow, amazing work, Agnes. It's mind-boggling to see how much your fitness improved as well, right, over time. And can you tell me how did it feel to actually? We also worked on specific skills relating to those multiple travels that you did, right? How to build confidence around your choices. Can you share a little bit about that, Agnes?
Right. I think with travels, there are 2 or 3 things that we did. Like one was plan for it, right? I mean, even when we were traveling, just making sure that either I knew stops along the way where we could buy some fresh fruits and vegetables, which you could snack on, even though you know your meals are going to be a little less of what we would typically plate at home. Second, just taking the guilt out of the equation. That is a special occasion, or that's a special, 2 weeks trip that we did with the family. So not focus so much on the eating, but there's so many other parts of it. Like we talked about eating for pleasure, eating for just the social connection. So, or even just enjoying ourselves and the pleasure that eating a burger and fries give you, right? So I think those were 2 things mainly: planning to make sure there's enough, that you're not going off, not eating fruits and vegetables or enough proteins for days together, but planning accordingly. And I think one other thing that helped me, maybe where we live, I think we're fortunate enough that, we could have our cooler in the car and have enough of maybe boiled eggs or sandwich options. So you don't have to eat out as much. So we were able to plan that better also.
Nice. So planning definitely, came to your rescue there. I do want to talk about, I remember when we started, I think Thanksgiving and Christmas were around the corner and you were kind of freaking out a little bit, right? So coming from that space, how do you feel about your relationship with food now? How do you think you worked on it?
So I think definitely there's so much more to food than just thinking of it as something that it's either going to increase my weight or decrease my weight, right? I mean, beyond just and the other side of it is just beyond just sustenance too, right? There is so much more that we attach to food. There's food traditions we have or memories you have. Like Christmas, for example, is always about making sure you have that plum cake, and then you make a biryani and have a dessert. It's not just the meal and the taste part of it, but also the emotions and the memories that are associated with sharing with family. So I think respecting that about food, I'm able to respect that food is not just I'm eating, it's filling my stomach, it's giving me energy. So that awareness is more. And I think looking at everything as a continuum with respect to food, right? If I'm not eating biryani every single day, so I shouldn't be feeling bad about eating it on that one day or on a special birthday kind of occasion. So I do think those are the 2 things how I see food differently now.
Wow.
And thing is, even during those times, eating mindfully, paying attention to fullness cues, making sure I take the time to sample everything that's on offer and not eat as though I'm not going to get another meal ever again. So I think that is definitely another learning too.
I do have to call out here, Agnes. It's like you're resonating so much of what I usually tell you, that it's like it's mirroring, for me to see that, and gives me a very it's a very proud moment for me as a coach. The way you have imbibed all of this, and the respect for everything around you that you have kind of understood, right? The food is not just for sustenance or to take you to a weight loss goal, but it's so much more. The connection, the social connection that you feel, the connection with that particular food itself, right? Some food actually triggers memories from the past. So the connection that you feel, specific memories that it kind of triggers with something that you've had with your family, or the traditions that you follow, the culture, social connection. It's just so much more, and it's so much more fulfilling when you start realizing that, rather than seeing it as a tool towards weight loss. Then, right?
Right.
So your relationship with food is fantastic right now. I also want to quickly talk about the specific practices that we worked on, Agnes, and how you think you're doing now. So in terms of first the 5-minute practice, I think we started off with gratitude journal, and I remember this one time where you had like a grounding day in your professional space, right? Where we said, hey, you know what? Just take a couple of minutes outdoors, walk barefoot on the grass. Talk about
Right.
that, Agnes.
Yeah, I don't remember in which context we started that, but I do think we said, okay, yeah, being more grounded. And I know you
Hey, the
offered.
Earth Day. Sorry. It was the Earth
Was it
Day at
Earth Day?
work.
Okay.
Yeah, the Earth Week or something like that.
Right. And then we decided, okay, we're going to go out and walk in the lawn barefoot for 5 minutes. I do think that it definitely evokes a certain connection and it grounds you. It also makes a lot of times I used to get my steps in my backyard, but I was also taking meetings during that time. So it was not really a pause for me, but this few minutes of walking in the backyard definitely makes you feel more grounded, more in tune with yourself and your emotions and thoughts at that point.
And to think that it's just a small thing, right? Small step. Just go out there and the kind of feelings that it instills in you. So that again made you feel a lot better. Let's talk about your nutritional awareness and how that actually helped you, Agnes.
So one thing, I mean, so even before I knew at a certain level, right, that proteins and vegetables, but I think one key thing that I learned was also the portion sizes, and how much of what to eat. Because I have been a person who would eat a lot of things, maybe protein, but maybe I was eating too much of it or too little of it, right? So becoming aware of the portion sizes and easy to understand, right? The palm and the fist and the cup. I think that made it simpler rather than what I've seen in the past is measuring and weighing it out. That's not going to work for the longer term. Like I'm not going to be able to measure every time. So this was easier to do. But at the same time, it made me more aware of how much I'm putting on my plate. So I think definitely that is something that I learned. And then observing myself after the meal, right? When I eat a certain protein, how do I feel? There are certain things which you digest faster, certain other things which stay with you longer and the fullness is there. So becoming aware of that definitely was something that I learned during this 1-year journey.
Nice. So basically, adopting a simpler method rather than punching it into a calculator or weighing and obsessing about numbers. This seemed like a very easy method that you could follow wherever you were, right? You carry your hand with you all the time. So be it at home or restaurants or anywhere, you are able to do it. And the second thing is also understanding portions in terms of what would work for you personally. Again, it's different for each person. So again, reflecting at the end of every meal and understanding how does this food make me feel, and also the way you plate your meal with different kinds of nutrients also make you feel a little different each time. right? I mean, a different quality of protein, like maybe a meat could satisfy you differently than maybe a vegetarian protein, like say channa or dal or something like that. So also getting those insights meal after meal and tweaking your portions based on that. So can you tell me how did that make you feel once you started getting into the rhythm of things with your nutritional awareness?
So I think one, it made me realize that I don't need to eat as much, because earlier I used to serve myself a lot more. I realized I was feeling not just full, but I was feeling also like I had the energy to do what I needed to do, eating a smaller portion. But I think the second thing was also becoming more aware of how I was nourishing myself and how it really helped me in the longer term, right? I think just becoming, I felt like, so when I plated my meal, I always used to feel satisfied, like, okay, I'm going to give myself the pleasure of eating this nourishing meal. That's what I used to tell myself before I eat. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, that in a nutshell, I felt like I was nourishing myself and giving myself something good, honestly, because I deserve to eat something good.
Wow, amazing, amazing insight. So again, approaching the meal with a lot of positive thoughts, and again, appreciating and having that gratitude for that meal and the visual appeal of it, right? So once you start plating your meal with so much colors, the first thing is your eyes see it, and that there itself you get that satisfaction and that urge to actually start savoring and enjoying that meal. And then once you start applying those other skills where you're chewing slowly, eating slowly, pausing, appreciating, understanding how your stomach feels. So again, we were able to build off of that very easily once this was in place. Right, Agnes?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I think the eating the rainbow definitely, and visually how important it is, that played a key role, right? I knew days when my plate was more yellow and brown. I wasn't like, okay, I really need to add some cucumbers or tomatoes just to make it more colorful. And it's easy to just to add some chopped veggies in there.
Nice. I mean, I still have those pictures for memories. Amazing, and the way your meals transformed once you started adding a lot more colors. So I do want to talk about how the structure and system and scheduling of this planning and prepping helped you have gain control over everything.
So I think first I would say, like we talked, right? Wednesdays and Thursdays were the most difficult days in the week, mainly because of the number of meetings that I had, right? So finding a time slot to either cook a meal or even have it without distractions was really hard initially. So I think making sure that I cooked a few meals, put it in the freezer did it on Sunday, had it ready for Wednesday and Thursday, definitely took some of the stress out of my head and said, okay, I know I'm prepared. I know I can stay on track. So that made me feel more in control. Second, it also made sure that I was not shortchanging myself in terms of the meals just because I was busy. Um, Third thing was the days when I also knew, like I planned the ordering out also, right? I knew Thursday night dinner is something we're going to order out, and we're probably going to order out something everyone likes, and we're going to try to see how to make sure it has enough veggies and something satisfying for a protein as well. So doing that allowed you to go back and indulge in meals that we like, so it was satisfying to more than just just the food aspect of it. But coming back to how the planning helped, I think it helped me stay the course. It helped me not haphazardly put things or order a random meal because I was busy, or worse, leave it to my husband, who would be like, okay, I know only one place to order food from, so let me do it. So I think having that meal plan out there and having it on a whiteboard in the house, he also knew where to order from. So it helped us all stay sane, I would say.
So again, anticipating how the week was going to go and planning around it. I mean, that is one of your big skills, Agnes, your organizational capabilities, the ability to visualize and strategize. These are all skills that you had at your professional space, right? All we had to do was show the spotlight and say, hey, Agnes, you have these skills. How can we bring this in? So quickly you were able to, adapt. So planning, preparing certain meals and putting it in the freezer, having access to pre-cut stuff again brought a lot of order, amidst all the chaos that was going around you, and could actually take the pressure off of you. Brilliant work. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I want to talk about, I think again, you were having a lot of sleep issues, right? I remember this time that it was really chaotic. That was the time we brought it in as a practice, which was your brother's wedding was going on, and you not being there personally and to be able to handle. I think your mom was also sick at that time, right? I don't remember.
No, I think my mom wasn't sick, but that was when the India's Delta
The
variant.
COVID situation, yes, it was
Yes.
really rampant, and you just simply could not fall back to sleep, right? So, can you tell me how that was, and at that point in time, and how you're doing now?
Yeah, so I think at that time it was definitely those major factors, not being there in person for my brother's wedding, but second, that they were having a wedding which they were planning in the midst of the crazy COVID, the Delta wave, which was there April, May, June in India. So one was just the fear of what could happen, and second, being away from family and having to coordinate everything over the phone, and time zones being different. And I know we introduced that practice of figuring out what's within your control and what's not really within my control. I think that, coupled with the gratitude journal, which we were doing, helped, at least in my mind, to put things at ease, right? So, because in addition to that, we also had 2 or 3 other practices that we said, right? Like creating a bedtime routine, for example. Okay, at 9:30 we do a certain thing. I have my tea, and then we do the gratitude journal, and we try to turn off the device by 10 and in bed by 10:30. So again, having that routine planned out definitely helped there, helped get to better sleeping patterns. I also noticed that the letting go, understanding what's within your control, that practice also helped, right? Certain things which are beyond me, sometimes you rely on faith, or you rely on like your beliefs outside of just trying to order or plan everything. Certain things are outside your control. Letting it go at that point was really helpful for me to not allow that stress to interfere with my sleep, I would say.
That was really a hard time, and I remember how challenging it was. And you basically understanding, okay, while I'm going through this, again, pausing. I think that was something that was introduced at that point too, right? Where you pause to understand what thoughts are going on in your head and how much of it do you think actually serves any purpose right now. And do you have any control over those? Whatever is bothering you, do you have control over those living so many miles away, right? And what is it that you have control over that you can actually do? And that's when we introduce that, you know what, maybe you can have a conversation with your family every night before you go to sleep and connect with them and make sure that they're doing okay. And then, have peace about things that, okay, you know what, things are okay. And this is how much I can do. And I am trying to do the best that I can. And again, practicing that self-kindness and self-compassion also kind of helped you a great deal there, Agnes, right?
Absolutely. And I think later on, we also added more stress management kind of practices, which also helped with the sleep part. Yeah, but I think also some discipline, we said, not not looking at devices after a certain time, because at one point it was leading to that doom scrolling kind of behavior. Turning off your phone and putting it away by a certain time, I think all those definitely helped.
Great. Let's go into emotional regulation. So that was where we introduced the notice and name, right? So can you go a little bit in detail about how it actually helped you regulate your emotions?
I think when I think about notice and name, I always have to think about it with the pause, right? So I have I used to pause and I used to be aware of what's happening, but I think the notice and named allowed me to give the right vocabulary to it, right? So once it clarifies in your head. Second, it allowed me to also have conversations with others, right? Like especially at home. Okay, this situation makes me feel frustrated. Or even last week there was this. We are packing our house and getting everything done, and it is a stressful situation for everyone, and tempers go off. And my husband used the word, and I was able to like immediately it set off a lot of triggers, right? He said, okay, you should have been able to do this. So it set off this emotion of maybe I'm not good enough. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take a second, pause, notice what's happening. And then I was able to tell him, hey, when you say that, I know you're saying something right, but when you use those words, it's making me feel like I'm not good enough. It's making me feel shame. And I don't think that's what you intended to do. And it allowed both of us to have an honest conversation. He said, yeah, I mean, I am sorry. And he apologized. And we were like, it helped me a lot better to articulate what I was feeling too, right? Just not just for myself, not just to notice it and respond accordingly, but also to someone else. Even at the workplace, I've seen that, right? Sometimes I say, okay, hey, this is making me feel, um, your behavior is making me feel frustrated, or but knowing what I was feeling helped me articulate that also with my relationship. But then second, sometimes it allows me also to journal later in the evening. I would see an emotion that comes up, and then I can double click on it later in the evening when I have some downtime and say, okay, why did I feel angry about that? Get to know myself a little better, become a little bit more self-aware. I think both of those, it helped. But in the moment, just that pause allows you to like, okay, let's take a step back and really breathe and understand what's happening, and do we really need to respond this way? Or and sometimes I would do it, sometimes I was aware I would still do what I did not want to do, but I think that's also, but at least becoming aware of I did it out of the emotion and not randomly blowing off a fuse. Definitely that awareness is helpful.
Wow. Again, your self-awareness and mindfulness at play here, and definitely it's your strength. I mean, thank you so much for sharing this vulnerable moment with us, Agnes. I mean, all of us go through this, right? Challenges happen day in and day out, but the way you respond to it is definitely your choice. And what you're telling me here is you were able to kind of notice and respectfully have a conversation and communicate this whatever that you're feeling, right? I mean, it made you feel bad and you had to convey that. You cannot let it linger on in your head for a long time. That would again impact the relationship. So how do I communicate this in a respectful way and still make sure that both parties are okay and think about a path forward? So again, a very, very proactive step there, from reflecting, understanding first of all your biases and how it made you feel, and communicating it and coming up and improving your relationships. Brilliant work there, Agnes, and thank you for sharing that. So I'm so happy to see all of these tools and skills. You know, they are life skills that you have learned, and they are helping you every step of the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I have to thank you for that, right? That's why I said I had different goals when I started, right? And I think looking at all that I've learned, and I can actually see that almost on a daily basis. Like today we were walking our dog, right? And my daughter was like, hey, I got my 10,000 steps already. Uh, I mean, like we are talking that language, but we're not going out of our, like we're not trying extra hard to do all of these things. So, I mean, yes, it's part of our daily routine. Just that transition which has happened, I don't think I would have thought about it. Maybe the number on the scale was kind of the biggest or the only goal for me, but just during this journey, I realized, okay, that's one factor, but that's not everything. Um, Looking at others, like, Are we moving enough as a family? Are we eating the right kind of food? Or even drinking water. We know those cues, right? Okay, my daughter comes and tells me, I don't think I drank enough water today, mom, because when I peed, it was not pale in color. So
Oh, wow.
that learning, and how it's not just stayed with me, but it's also going to my daughter. Just I think that's I have to thank you for that, right? Because you gave me the tools not only for myself, but also to help my family. So thank you.
Hugely impactful to hear that, Agnes. Thank you for this feedback. I mean, that is the goal. When the woman of the household changes, we have that power and strength in us to impact our family members as well, in terms of eating habits or activity. And it's so nice to see Roshni catch up so much, just by observing what you're doing. Right. And
Mhm.
I remember our conversation, the first conversation where you said it was important for you to be a role model for Roshni, where she gets to
Mm.
observe everything. And I think, and you're way ahead in terms of that goal, Agnes. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it does. I think getting that validation from my daughter, not directly though, that is super. Yeah, makes me feel really happy and proud.
Fantastic. So let's talk about your relationship with yourself and your body, Agnes. I know you were in a very different space back then. So can you talk about that and where do you see yourself now?
Yeah, so if I had to talk about the relationship with my body, uh, I think I shared with you, I hate taking pictures, or I felt like I had to be a certain size to take pictures. But I think over the course of uh, these, little over a year, I've come to accept myself. Yeah, I wanted to lose X number of pounds. I don't think it was a realistic goal to set in the first place for the 1 year, but I have to accept that little changes that's happening. Definitely I've lost weight, lost inches, but wherever I am, just being more comfortable in myself, right? I think that's an acceptance that I've come to. Second, just being happy. And when I look at some of my pictures from our trip when we went over the summer, July, August timeframe, like midway through our journey, I know it was not the perfect sized person I was imagining in my head, but I see a very happy person in those pictures. And I was
Mm.
the memories also, right? Like allowing myself to be photographed. I think that was a huge change for me in how I view myself and my body image. But other than that, definitely a lot more self-compassion. And I think acknowledging that, we all have days when we don't do we're not at 100% or we're not at that number 10. Just acknowledging that and being kind to ourselves and allowing ourselves to bounce back, that resilience. Um, Self-compassion and resilience, I think I'm a little bit more attuned, or I pay a little, like I allow myself a little more grace than before.
Wow. Huge, very, very powerful, information there and insights that you've shared. And, when you have teenage daughters at home, I have two of them. So it's important for us to also kind of heal our relationship with ourselves and our body and the food so that they are able to emulate that, right? It's important for them to imbibe these qualities from you. So you've created a huge transformation in yourself, not just in yourself, but in Roshni as well. The way she sees you approach food,
Mhm.
or how you see yourself, she's going to learn a lot from that. And I remember this one time you shared, you went on a trip and you said, "Hey, Shividya, I'm not hiding behind anybody for the pictures. I'm actually looking much happier now. I'm happy being photographed." So that was definitely a breakthrough moment in our journey, I remember. And let's talk about your relationship with the scale now, Agnes.
Yes, and I was someone who was scared of stepping on the scale if it didn't give me the number I wanted to see, right? And I think for the longest time, I didn't want to step on the scale because I knew our, like, at least the first 2-3 months, our practices weren't the ones which will allow you to lose weight, or it was more getting started on the meal planning and the meal prepping. And I was hesitant to do the measurements or anything like that. Um, it was probably really late, maybe around October or November is when I felt, okay, the scale is just a feedback mechanism, just as I learned from plans that failed, or we set a goal, we didn't hit the goal, we learned from it. I need to approach the scale the same way. That's an area I don't think I made as much progress as the others, but definitely it's improved. Like I'm not afraid of stepping on the scale and seeing the number. Whether it's higher than the last time or lower than the last time, I do think I've come to a place where I can accept it as feedback. Would I willingly step on it more often? I do not know that yet. That's something to work on for me.
Nice. So at least you see that as feedback, and then you're able to reflect on your behaviors and make a proactive step, right? So and again, feeling happy about the progress that you've made, from where you started, and accounting for those small wins also keeps a very positive environment. I do want to call out another breakthrough mindset win that we had, where you saw yourself as a morning person. I think that was a very, very difficult phase for you to kind of tide over, right? So can you talk about that, Agnes, the change from a rigid mindset to a flexible mindset?
Yeah, I think I was a person who used to go to my gym first thing in the morning, right, at 5:30. And I had to get things done early in the morning. Otherwise, I felt I wouldn't have a chance to do it. And during the pandemic, given the situation without a gym, because I couldn't get it done in the morning, I wasn't working out any time in the day. And I know when we started talking about the identities we have for ourselves, we talked about this being a morning person and how it was important for me. But then it was kind of limiting and not allowing me to use the rest of the day that was available for me to work out or take a walk or do whatever else that needed to be done. So I think just slowly rephrasing that, and looking at it as, okay, I'm going to work out whenever I have time available, whether it's a 30-minute time slot during the day when I don't have meetings, or even at different points we said there's a 2-minute, I'm going to do a plank for 2 minutes, or I'm going to do a wall set for between the 1 minute between the meeting. I think that changed significantly and allowed me to be more flexible with how I approach my day and how my schedule was there. There could be a day a 7 a.m. meeting was there. I couldn't walk first thing in the morning, but I could do it later in the day if I had time over lunch. I think that helped me stick to my routine also. Like getting those steps, I didn't have to do it only first thing in the morning.
Yeah, so noticing that how this identity that or the story that you carried about yourself could also, it's like a double-edged sword, right? If it happens, it happens, but if it doesn't happen, it really hurts your progress. So you were able to see that and kind of reframe it and see, okay, you know what? When I'm able to get it in the morning, I'll get it done. But if I'm not able to do it, let's look at the potential that I have to actually get something done. Right? Again,
right.
That all or nothing thinking and saying that it's always something, right? Focusing on small steps, 2-minute plank, 5-minute wall sit, something through the day that actually kept the momentum happening. And it also gave you a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day. You know what? I did not give up, right? I actually made something happen. Brilliant work there, Agnes. So I do have a couple of things that I want to talk about quickly. This program is all about deep health, and we don't just focus on physical health. So quickly, I'm going to ask you to give me 2 numbers for all of those 6 domains that we worked on. So basically, the physical domain, where do you think you were, and where are you now on a scale of 10? 10 being you're thriving in that domain.
I would say I'm an 8 at this point. Yes. And yeah.
And where do you think you were before, Agnes?
Somewhere between a 5 and a 6.
That's great progress.
Yes.
How about mental domain, Agnes, in terms of alertness, focus, mental health?
Yeah, so that is probably where I would say I was somewhere in a 3 or a 4. And that maybe again, I would say somewhere close to a 7 or an 8 at this point. And some of it is just the recent 1 month. It's just the packing and moving houses, which is impacting it. If you'd asked me a month earlier, I'd have rated it a little higher.
Yeah, a 9 or a 10 probably, right? I mean, given the self-awareness and mindfulness and everything that you have going, shifting is not an easy joke at all, Agnes. It takes a huge toll, and the way you've been able to handle it again, I think the skills and the tools that you actually put effort towards over the past 1 year, that has definitely helped you look at things differently, right? Different with different perspectives, and kind of operate with a growth mindset and see, hey, okay, you know what, this is the challenge that I have. That is testimony to me, Agnes, right? About this whole program, about how you kind of handled renovating this current house and also working on the new house, taking care of so many things. Hats off to you. So can you tell me emotional domain, Agnes, in terms of stress?
Emotional domain, again, I would say that would have been a 4 last year. And irrespective of all the changes, I would say somewhere between an 8 and a 9. I feel really good in that space.
Awesome. And relational?
Relational, I would have rated myself a 6. And I'd probably say at an 8.
Awesome. I mean, you've improved in all of those domains.
Yes, I feel there's room to grow in the relational side.
Always, right? I mean, yes. I hear you. How about environmental domain in terms of having a conducive environment for your goals and also the people that surround you? I mean, shaping the environment, think about all of those things that we did in terms of making sure having access to healthier options, all of those account as well.
Right. And I think like I said, I don't want to take this last 1 month into consideration. I would say, again, that would be a higher, earlier number would have been close to 5. I didn't buy junk food or, things like that, but where I really got structures in place was the planning or, the stuff we talked about, buying canned legumes and which is ready to go if I didn't have time to soak. All of those areas, I would definitely say 8. And I even amidst the chaos that my house is right now, there are certain things that are set in place and we know, okay, we can all have a meal, or we all have a salad, just grill some meat and you can have a dinner in a short time. I would definitely say that's improved tremendously.
Fantastic. Again, structure and system to your planning and prepping, right? Let's talk about existential domain in terms of living a fulfilling life and of values and purpose. How do you feel about that?
I did have a decent sense of my values, but I think whether I was living into it, I think that's the question. We talked about it, right? I prioritized a certain way, but how much I was allocating energy was probably the reverse. So I would say being aware of it was definitely high even prior, but really did it translate into the reality of the life I was living was probably not. And I don't know if I can put a number on a scale, to be honest, for that, but I can definitely see myself getting better at that, right? Like even this week, there was, I see myself saying no to stuff which really don't align with my value, whether it's at home, or even if it's at home or an event that you have to go to, right? I'm saying, okay, I don't think I can do this because there's something else that's a higher priority. So, and it's aligned with my values because I need to spend time with my family, or I need to be prepping a meal, or I need to be going out and walking a little. So the choices that I say yes to and the ones that I say no to are more informed from my values and what's important to me.
Brilliantly articulated, Agnes. So right now, I mean, again, the values and the priorities, you are still very, very clear and aware of what those were. due to all the stress that was going on around you and your own personal space, you just could not align your actions with those values and priorities, right?
Right.
And today, even if you say no to, there is a valid reason why you're saying no to that. Because you're in alignment with what you consider as your values and your priorities, right? And
Mhm.
so there is more alignment towards that, and there is actually definitely action taking place, right,
Mm,
Agnes?
I agree. Yes, yes.
Brilliant. So now I would like to ask you for feedback about your coaching experience and what was the best part about me as your coach?
I think having you as one is the encouragement that you provide, right? I think you constantly motivating and being that champion, that was super helpful for me. Even on there are lots of days when I felt like, okay, I'm doing this thing wrong initially, but you would always come back and say, okay, that was great work. And I'm like, okay, someone is there cheering for me. So that motivated me to do a lot better. And I think non-judgmental when you approach it, right? Like, hey, when there was a week, then I had like 1,000 steps. So I said, okay, I really couldn't get to the gym even. We said 3 days a week, but I wasn't able to do it that time. You were able to have a conversation of, okay, let's talk about what went wrong or how do we approach this differently. And I think so the encouragement and then being non-judgmental definitely was super helpful. But just your knowledge of this, and the knowledge that you break it down into chunks that's easy for us to assimilate, I think the way you do it, that is super helpful. Like, you know what you're doing, but you're also able to help us with that knowledge in small chunks.
Thank you so much, Agnes. You have been a huge part of my coaching journey as well, and being able, right? I mean, during the time I was coaching you, I was also going through the L2, in terms of upskilling, the mentorship
Mm-hmm.
that I went through with precision nutrition. So parallelly, I was also able to apply those skills on you and see how that is working for you, right? And also tweak my own coaching process and my growth as a coach. So I really appreciate, for your open communication, first of all, and also bringing to me those challenges so that we could both kind of troubleshoot and work on it and apply and see what actually works best for you. So thank you. I mean, you played a huge role in my journey as well.
And I think I should call out the community that you've built also, right? I think like you've kind of invested in that community, and now the community is also everyone's helping each other. I think that's also a huge plus to the way you do coaching.
Thank you. I really appreciate, and definitely the community of the strong tribe of women that we have built who are all resonating the same philosophy and approach, right? They are all
Right.
talking the same language. That definitely helps a lot, Agnes. Thank you so much for sharing that. What would you tell someone who's thinking of working with me?
They should say yes and take the plunge. They're going to be in for an adventure. I mean, they're going to set out on one path and discover totally new things about themselves. I think that's what I would tell people. But that they should really trust the process, though initially it might feel different from what they are used to. Just trust the process and stick with it, and they'll discover more about themselves and make steps towards better and healthier version of themselves for the longer term rather than an arbitrary short-term goal.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that and also putting it out there that this is not your usual run of the mill kind of a program, you right? A diet chart and the typical thing,
Mhm.
but also, helping them understand that this is going to be a slow process, a different process where you invest time in yourself and trying to learn insights about yourself. This is a
Mhm.
self-development program and also helps in building habits. So definitely things are going to take time. And what you're saying is just stick with it, stay patient, and give your commitment, and things you will be blown away at the end of it. Is that right, Agnes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Really appreciate your time, and as always, I will miss this articulate communication from you, the detailed weekly winning reports that you would actually send over, and those wonderful meal pictures and all those conversations, the lovely conversations that we had week on week, Agnes. Definitely, I'll miss those.
Oh yeah, I am gonna miss them, but I think I have your voice in my head. I am gonna tell myself, what would Srividya tell me to do in this instance? That's how I'm gonna tell myself and guide. But yeah, but definitely we can connect outside of our bi-weekly calls.
Absolutely. Please do keep me posted about your progress. And I just want to put it out there that I'm here for you anytime you feel like you want to come back and say, hey, you know what, Srividya, I just need to kind of brush up these skills, or I'm really going through a challenging time and I need some support and accountability. My doors are open, Agnes, for you. So you just ping me and we'll get it started.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.